Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Samantha and I'm a stay-at-home mum in the northwest of England, and I faff around with beads and wire. That's all you need to know. Hi everyone, welcome back, and today I thought I would try and use up some of these ridiculously cute little beads that I've had in my stash for a very long time. I'm sure we've all got these cute little letter beads or hearts and that kind of thing. So I don't know how long I've had these, actually, probably a very long time, so never really knowing what to do with them. So I've been just faffing around over the past couple of weeks, and I've been making some cute little rings for the kids. I know that a lot of us here have grandchildren and younger, well, some of us have younger children, and these are really cute, aren't they? Just to make them for the kids, or you can make them for gifts, or indeed if you're having stalls to raise money for your school or anything like that. These are just a perfect little way of making a quick couple of pounds or a couple of dollars, just for, I don't know, little craft fairs, things like that. So I'm a little hesitant to do a tutorial on these because every single time I've done a ring tutorial, it's bombed. So I'm not really sure if you guys actually want to see rings. If you do, this will be a really quick one because they're ever so simple. If you do, let me know in the comments section below and we'll go ahead and make these guys. But today I thought we would make a little bracelet. Bracelets are always fun and cute, aren't they? And I just love these. You're going to be doing a little bit of simple square knot macrame cord, and we'll make the little disc or focal or whatever you want to call it. You can make them with 3 SAM for Sam, obviously, which fits around the wrist nicely. I've made this one for my son's girlfriend. Her name begins with the letter M, obviously. And you can attach little beads along the macrame cording, that kind of thing. So shall we have a look what we need to make these little guys? What you need is some of these cute little letter beads or hearts or whatever you want. So I'm sure you've got these in your stash, so you're going to need those. You will need some 1mm craft wire, copper wire, I don't know, any wire you like, but 1mm, all right, to go through the center. You're also going to need some 0.6mm wire. I'm using artistic wire here because it bends nicely, because we're going to be doing bending the beads around the focal point in the center. All right, you will need usual suspects, I call them, so your flush cutters. You'll need, as always, a pair of chain nose pliers, and for my hoops here, loops, whatever you want to call them, I use, as always, my 6-step bell making pliers, which for your information are 2 to 9 increments. I know that they do come in different sizes, but I'm using the 2 to 9 increment ones. You'll need some form of measuring device. So either a ruler or a tape, just to measure some lengths out. And what else do we need? Beads. So with this one here, I've just used 11 O's. With this one here, I've used a combination of 11 O's and 8 O's. So I suggest we're going to replicate this one today. So 11 O's and 8 O seed beads if you want to pop a little dangle on, a little bead, okay? And you're also going to need a very basic, simple macrame board. I've got a mini one here, which is perfect for what I want to do. I'll just pop that over here. And you're going to need some cording. So I'm using S Lon 0.9mm. Very difficult to get in this size actually in the UK, so I'm using up the last of my stash. I'm waiting for the supplier that I did use in the past to get some more in, but it's very difficult to get this size actually in the UK. If you know of anywhere in the UK that sells this particular S Lon in that size, then please do let me know. So you're going to need some literally nylon cording. All right. The only other thing that you'll need is a pair of scissors to cut your cording and a lighter of some description, because we will be just sealing the ends of our cord with a little bit of a lighter. All right. So gather all your materials together. Hopefully you've got all of this going on in your house, like the rest of us have, us magpies who have a huge stash. Grab all your materials and we'll get going and make this cute bracelet. All right, so I'll see you in a few. Righty-ho, let's get going on this, shall we? Whilst you tell me what the weather's like where you are. As always, we always talk about the weather. It's actually quite nice here today, bit windy. Got a bit of a wind thing going on, but the sun's shining, so that's lovely. So let's go for it. Our 1mm 18 gauge wire. You are going to need around about 5 inches or so, which is what, 5 inches, 12, 13 centimeters, something like that. So let's just cut off a little bit of wire, give or take. As always, it's give or take, just so you've got plenty. Probably a little bit more than you need, but hey ho, that's just the way I roll. So here we have our 1mm wire. So the first thing we need to do is have a think about our beads. So let's have a look. I think what I'll do today is I'll just make one with a little heart in the middle. Really cute, these little guys, actually. These do come in different sizes, guys, so it doesn't really matter. The smaller ones, the larger ones, it's entirely up to you. The principle actually is exactly the same. So that is our centre bead. Right, so let's have a look at some seed beads. So I'm using Miyuki here because I like the quality and the size stability of them. So you need to get yourself a few little beads. That should be enough, I would think. Just leave that there, and let's go for some pinkish ones as well. These are also Miyuki. Can't remember the name of these guys, but they're like a luster, really, really pretty beads. Okay, so that's those, and let's go for some 8-O's as well. Some little gold ones. Don't usually work in gold very often, even though I do quite like gold. Oops, they're going everywhere, as usual. There we go. So we've got our beads going on. All right, so now we've got our little collection of beads here. We need to get some 0.6 22 gauge wire. I like to use the artistic wire, actually. I think it's made by S Lon. I could be mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, mainly because it's a beautiful colour and it's really pliable, really malleable. Great for things like you know, doing this kind of thing. So let's have a think. I'm going to say about 25, 30 centimetres, 12 inches, 10, 12 inches, something like that. Mainly because, where did I put my, oh, there it is. Can't find my tape. Mainly because we're going to be going round a few times. I'll tell you what, let's say 30 centimetres, that should be enough. Give or take, you know what I'm like, give or take. When you do one, you'll know exactly how much you need. Right, so this is along the lines of the herringbone wrap. All right, so we take our little piece of wire here and we just bend it round once, done it twice there. Okay, and we're going to need to cut our little loop. So just bear with me here whilst I work through the camera There. Where is it? There it is. Let me just cut that there. All right, so that we have a little, squish that down a little bit. While we have a little loop. You see that? So pop that on to our wire here. We then pop our little central focal bead on. I hope I'm in camera shot here. It's quite bright in here today, so my eyes are a bit, there we go. So this is what we have. So what we want to do is, holding this tight, is to bend the wire around the top of our bead, over the top. Oh, can you hear Glory coming? Hi, Glory. And then when we've bent it around once, we bend it around the other side and then over the top. All right, so we have this here. All right, so the next stage is, you know, when you're doing a herringbone wrap, you just do that round and around and around and around, so you've got the wires. Instead of doing that, we have to put beads on here now, because we're going to be herringbone wrapping beads. So let's have a look. What colour? Let's do, should we do the pink first? So you just pop your 11O seed beads. I've worked out, I think it should, given that most seed beads aren't actually the same size, I'd aim for a 10 or 11 for this part here. So how many is that? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. All right, so bring these beads down. So we have this here. What we're trying to do is just pop them behind just ever so slightly, so you've got that first gold wrap showing through. So you just bend them round and see how it looks. 10. Okay, so just take one off if you've got too many. All right, and then you see this bead is just sitting over the top of this wire here. Just bend over and secure that guy there. You see that? All right, so the next thing we need to do is replicate that on the bottom. So again, let's take 10 or 11 beads. That's 1, 2, talk amongst yourselves. Oh, I might edit this. I might speed this up in editing. It's very boring watching someone counting beads. I'm not counting money, that's a shame. Let's have a look how many we've got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's go for 10. We can always add one on, take them away, whichever. So bring them down. Oh gosh, can you hear that wind? All right, so do the same thing and bring things around. Yeah, that looks fine. It's never going to be completely circular, but it's going to be pretty close, as you can see here. And then you bring the wire underneath and then back over the top. All right, so this is what we have so far. Cute already, huh? So I would like now to put some 8Os on, but because the 8Os are slightly wider than the 11Os, you've only got one wrap here. I suggest you wrap again. It just gives you a little bit more space. You see how it just affords a little bit more space here. Just bend this part of the wire around with your nail. All right, just to make it a little bit more of a form around these guys here. So let's put some little gold beads on here, shall we? I don't know how many. Let's have a think. That's 4. Oops. Oh, come on. 4, 5, 6, 7, and let's try 8. Obviously, all beads aren't made the same, are they? So, okay, we're going to need more than 8 by the looks of that. Let's put some more on. 9 and 10 and 11. So just bend them round, push them up, make sure everything sits nice and tightly and neatly. As you can see, that does there. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So underneath and over the top. So again, we just want to replicate that on this bottom side. So just work the wire around here with your nail so that it takes its form nicely. And we'll pop a few more beads on. Oh gosh, it is windy. Not to worry, I don't have to do anything this afternoon, so when I've finished recording this, I will probably be doing chores. How wonderful. Jewellery making and chores in the one day. Wonderful. I'm still at that point where I'm trying to find excitement and solace in doing chores. It's difficult. What's your favourite chore, guys? I have to clean the bathroom this afternoon. So exciting, isn't it? The life of a YouTuber, which is what I guess I am these days. Righty-ho. Yeah, I think that's about right. Yeah, I think that's okay. So just push these up. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. So underneath and round. So this is what we have. Can you see how we've now got the 2 rows of beads here? You are going to get a little bit of a gap on either side. I don't mind that. So if it bothers your OCD or whatever, I can't help you. I'm so sorry. There we go. Righty-ho. So I think now that we've done those, we'll have some of the little pearly white beads as well. So this is all you do. You just literally go rounds and rounds and rounds and put on whatever beads you like. I suppose this would work with 2mm druks or something like that. You know, the little druk beads that you can get, which are quite sweet. But obviously the larger the bead, the more space you'll need around, if you know what I mean. So these are small beads, so just follow that around. Need some more. So on with the bead counting. I should probably put some disco music around these parts and we can all have a bit of a party whilst we watch Sam putting beads on a piece of wire. Let's have a party, guys. That would be good, wouldn't it? Invite you all to my house and we'll have a big party. There we go. So how are we getting on here? Don't worry about the shape of it just for now, because you can alter the shape when in the final fettle, when we mess about. There we go. How's that? Can you see that? That's good. So I'm happy with that. So I wind that around once more. I'm just going to need a few more, I think, of these little, they're S Lon ivory. Absolutely gorgeous little beads. But again, like I say, you can go slightly larger with your beads if you want. You don't have to use the tiny ones. If you are struggling with your dexterity, just use some slightly larger beads. That's all. The world is your oyster, as I always say. And I'm rambling, aren't I, again? Why do I always ramble? Okay, let's get some more of these guys on. So here's the boring bit again. Just keep popping them on and see how you get along. So I'll come back to you in a second when I've put these guys on. Okay, we're back. Aren't you happy that I cut the video and you didn't have to sit here and watch me put beads onto wire? Good grief. Okay, so here we have our little focal taking shape. Isn't that cute? So if you squeeze them in and just give them a bit of a faff about with your fingernails and make everything nice and neat. All right, so I just put an extra wrap on that side just to secure everything. Okay, how's that? Good, so we are done. What I will do in a little while is we cup this slightly. We sort of squeeze things around so that it turns into like a little cup shape, but we'll do that in a little while. So, you know, things are subject to change at the moment, but here we have our little focal. So what you do now is obviously you need to cut this little section of wire on the side here and just give it a little bit of a tighten so that we're all happy. Okay, so here we have our little focal piece. What we want to do is to create the little loops on either side. Now I do a double loop which ends on the top and then I squeeze it down, all right, so it doesn't irritate the wrist when you're wearing it. I don't know if you can see. All right, so this is where we come in with our 6-step bail making plier, or indeed if you're proficient with your round nose, which I'm not, you can use your 6-step pliers. I like simplicity, as you're probably aware now. So what we want to do is to create these two little loops on either side. So we come in with our pliers. I'm using the 2nd step here, which is 3 millimeters, all right, because we want to make it large enough so that we can pop the cording through, all right. So when we come to the macrame stage of this, we want to be able to, so I wouldn't do too small a loop, if that makes sense, all right. So 3 millimeters for me. So what we do is rotate it around our pliers twice. Okay, pleasure flights, here we go. The pleasure flights have started. So as you can see here, we've got a double loop, all right, with this end sticking on the top. Now if this becomes a little bit too sharp for you, just very, very gently use an emery or a file just to take the edge off that. Okay, so we also now want to, I think they call it break the neck, but I don't like that, so I'm just going to say you need to straighten it up. So you just literally straighten things up and push your focal down. All right, so we have one side of the focal there. You see that? We want to do the same on the other side. A little bit too much wire there, Sam, but never mind. There are worse things in life than having a little bit too much wire, I think. Certainly at the moment. So I think a lot of places in the world are seeing some very odd times at the moment, and I'm more than happy to sit here in my conservatory and talk about absolute nonsense with you guys. So I hope that's all right with you. So I've worked out that for my 3 millimeter part of my mandrel on here, I need to cut off about 2.5 centimeters along this wire, which will allow me to rotate twice around for the other loop. All right, so I'm just going to measure that, and we'll cut off around about 2.5 centimeters. There is a bit of leeway in this actually, guys, so don't worry too much. All right, so just cut that off and get rid of that. And do the same thing again. You want to do it in the same direction. All right, so let's do this and around and around and around. And break the neck of it, so to speak. Okay. So there we have our focal piece. Gorgeous. So we are heading in the direction that we want to be going now. There we have our little focal. How cute is that? All right, beautiful. So this is where we come into our macrame. So I'm just going to clear the table and I'll get the board and everything out, and then we'll go through what to do next. So I will see you in a moment or two. Righty ho team, we're back and now we look at making the little square knot macrame bracelet to go with the focal that you've just made. So how exciting. So you need to bring in your 0.9, well actually you know what, you just use whatever cord you like. This is S Lon 0.9mm. Very, very hard to get nowadays actually in the UK. So if you know of a supplier that I don't know about, please let me know in the comments, because I do like this stuff. It's really, really easy to use. And I like the colours that they have. So you're going to need 2 lengths of 60 centimetres, which I think, let's have a think, yeah, 24 inches for you guys that use inches. So you cut off 2 lengths of this guy here. All right, so let me bring in my 2 lengths. You double the length up, just shift this out of the way, then it's not in the way. So you double it up like so, fold it in half essentially. The loop end goes up through the hoop that you've just made, like so, and the 2 ends go through like so. So you are attaching it. Actually, it's probably best the other way around. Yeah, I would pop it downwards, actually. Downwards through. It just looks a little neater on the top if you do it that way. And then up. Through and pull. Yeah, that looks a little better. Can you see that? All right. Same with the other side. Take your cord. Fold it in half equally, and we go through. Is this the right way, Sam? Well, we'll soon find out, won't we? No, other way, Sam. It's always the way, isn't it? The way that you think you've done it right, you haven't. So, through. Make sure it's equal on either side, if you're a perfectionist like me. There we go, that's it. All right, so we have our cord on either side. So this is where we bring in our little macrame board. If you don't have one of these, very inexpensive, so you could, you know, I think most of us have probably got one of these. If you don't have one, then you can simply tape the cord to a table with some tape. All right, so take one cord and pop it through the top, and the other cords and pop it through the bottom like so. Let me see if this is centered in the shot so you can see what I am doing. Let's hope it is. Yeah, okay. It's quite bright in here today, so I can barely see what's on my screen of my camera, so hopefully you'll be able to see. Right, let's get going on this part. So you're going to need approximately about the same, another 60 centimetres, give or take. So let me just measure this. Then I am not using way too much of my cording. There we go. All right, so the next thing we need to do is start on this cord. So pop the cording underneath these 2 guys here, all right? And then we want to find the center, obviously. So we'll find the center and just do an overhand knot. Just to attach the cord. Come on, honestly. Why is it that when you're trying to demonstrate something, it has a life of its own? There we go. So pull it nice and tight. So as you can see here, we've secured this guy onto our 2 strands of cord here. All right, so this is where we start with our square knotting. My best advice at this stage is, there's a formula to do this, which makes it really, really easy to remember where you are, to make sure that your square knots are equal. So if you put a little knot in one end, one side of your cording, like so. All right, so my tip is, and I'll show you as we go along, that, oh gosh, things blowing around outside. that this knot here tells you which side you're on, all right? So I'll explain as we go along. So to create your first knot, the knotted side, if you're right-handed, do it this way. If you're left-handed, obviously, just reverse what I'm doing. You want to bring this guy over the top of these base cords here. This is lying over the top, like so. The other cord, without the knot, you want to bring over the top of this one. All right, and underneath this cross. So I call it the cross. So you've come over the top, you want to feed it underneath this cross and up through. You see that? And as you're pulling it tight, you'll see that you've just created an overhand knot that encapsulates these two base cords here. And pull. Not too tight, but relatively tight. So that's the first half of your square knot. So you'll notice now that this knotted side is now on the right hand side. All right, so you always cross over in the opposite direction to where your knot is. So if your knot's on the right, you bring it over to the left. If your knot is on the left, you bring it over to the right. Okay, so pull this knotted side from the right over the top of the base wires. Take the non-knotted side and you want to put it underneath the cross. This is what I call the cross here, and through. So just pull, and as you can see, it's creating an overhand knot, and pull it tight. Okay, so that's your first square knot done. And you'll notice that your knotted end here is back on the left. So every single time you've got a knot on one side, it tells you that you've got to go in the opposite direction. So because my knot is now on the left, I bring the cord to the right, like so. Take the non-knotted end and underneath what I call the cross. So you attack that from underneath at the bottom and through and up, like so. Okay, so that's the second square knot started. Pull it relatively taut. And now you'll see that the knotted end is now on the right hand side, which tells us that we need to bring it to the left. You'll know what I mean when you get going yourself, but I always put a knot so I know exactly where I am. If you don't have that knot, sometimes if you're taken away by a phone call or somebody comes to the door to sell you a pair of slippers or whatever, you can sort of lose track of where you are. There are other ways of knowing where you are, but for the purposes of today, I won't go into that. So, over the top, bring your other cord under from this direction, under what I call the cross, and up through. And that's your second square knot. All right, so I'll just do one more. Over, up and through. So that's one half of your square knot. And because the knot is on this side, I bring it over the top of the base cords and under the cross. And through. Hopefully I've done that so you can understand it, guys. You probably know how to do this already, some of you, or a lot of you actually, so just go for it. Now, the length of this is determined by the wearer, obviously. So for mine, I think I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 square knots for me, mainly because I am relatively large wristed, and this is what it looks like underneath for me. If you wanted to continue it around for a larger wrist or do less for a shorter wrist, like for a child, say for example, just do less knots. So I've got 2 going on here, and I'll meet you back when I've got 15. All right, so I'll see you in a few, and we'll go through what to do when we get to the end. All right, so I'll see you soon. Okay, so we're back, and as you can see here, I have completed 12 square knots on this one. I'm making this one for my daughter's friend, and obviously with her being young, she is very slim and has very slim wrists. So 12 square knots on here. Just a quick tip for you. Actually, I'll show you whilst we're on the subject, that in order to work out how many square knots you've got, let me see if I can bring this a little closer to the camera. You'll notice on each side you'll have a little bump. Can you see here? A little bump there and a little bump on either side. To make a square knot, each of these is a square knot bump. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 bumps on one side, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 bumps on the other side. So I know that I've got an equal amount of square knots here. Okay, so just a little bit of a tip for you, just so you can keep an eye on where you are. Right, so what you can do is you can now flip this guy over and just tug that up a little bit. All right, leave that there for now. And you want to do exactly the same on this side so that you have 12 square knots on either side. All right, so we'll come back when you've done this side, and I'll meet you back when I've done mine. All right, so I'll see you in a few. So we are back, guys, and hopefully now you have something that looks a little bit like this. Oh, glory. What are you doing as soon as I start recording, honestly? Doggies. Here we go. So you take it off your board or off your table, however you have attached it. All right, and this is when we come in with our scissors and our little lighter. Unless you've got a thread zapper, you know, those little thread zapper things that you push and it goes zzz, type of affair. Okay, but if you're going to be using a lighter, please make sure that you adhere to all safety advice. Keep your hair out of the way, protect your eyes and your environment. Okay, so I don't want anybody suing me because I've not advised them to be careful with a naked flame. So you want to chop off quite close, not too much, because we don't want a huge blob of melted nylon there. We just want a tiny little bit. All right, so hopefully you can see how much I'm taking off here. About so. Just move that out of the way. We do the same with the other side. Now at this stage, be very careful not to tug any of these, because you will lose all of your hard work and you'll have to do it all over again. So we have this. All right, now holding this guy here and here away from your fingers, take your lighter and very carefully try not to touch the nylon itself. Very gently just melt and then tap. So as you can see there, it's melted the nylon so that it seals the sides essentially. What you want to try not to do is to burn it, because just slightly discoloured there. Try and avoid that if you can, but it is what it is with these lighter colour cords. Again, very carefully and gently, and then all right, so that's now sealed that. All right, so hopefully you followed that okay. I'll just do it again on the other side. So making sure these are pulled tight, and snip about here, and then snip about here. All right, so I'll just move these out of the way. And again, with your lighter, very gently melt that. Try not to use your fingers to do that initially, because it will burn your fingers, because it is hot nylon at the end of the day. All right, so just watch what you're doing. And again. And then as it cools down, you can use your fingers just to squish it. All right, so that's how you do that part. So here we have our cute little bracelet ready to have the square knot fastening put on, you know, like this part here. All right, so it's essentially the same thing. However, what you want to do at this point is to cross your cords over. Now I'm going to show you this. You can do this on your table with some tape if you prefer. I'm going to be using my macrame board because that's what I've got. So instead of lengthways, I'm going to be doing it breadthways. Okay, so place your piece on and bend the right hand side over to the left and attach, and the left hand side over to the right and attach, so that these guys cross in the middle. All right, like so. Looks a bit scrappy for now, but trust the process, I promise. Then you need to come in with another piece of your cording. It doesn't need to be as long, obviously, because we are simply doing a small version of this guy here. So I'll just cut that off. So we do exactly the same thing, except we're taking in 4 cords instead of 2. So find the center and just do an overhand knot as equally as you can. And try and encompass those 4 cords as flat as you can. All right, so as you can see here, looks a bit scrappy at the moment, but it works out pretty well in the end. All right, so let me just tighten that up a little bit. Okay, so want to do the same thing that you did on these parts here. So over the top and underneath the cross bit, like so. Oops, that went awry. Never mind, I'll try again. Nothing is perfect. Certainly not for me. So that's the first part of your square knot done. All right, so, and my cord is fighting with me today, guys. So essentially you do exactly the same as you did on these parts here. It's just being fiddly because it knows I'm on camera and it's making me work for my art today. There we go. So just bear with it, I think is the order of the day. All right, so keep going. So over the top and this guy underneath. I'm trying to do it so that I don't get my hands in front of the camera so you can see what I'm doing, but you know what you're doing. Okay, so you can make this, I don't know, about 4 or 5 long, and then we'll come back and we'll finish the bracelet off. All right, so I'll see you in a few. So now I've had to take a little bit of a break. I'm sorry about that. So we've come back towards the end of the day, and the sun's shining in here a little bit more than it was before. Sorry guys. Anyway, so when we get to the end, we do pretty much exactly the same as we did with these guys here. So you cut off the little ends, use your lighter, and then you basically you need to leave enough room here for people to open this guy up and put it on the wrist. So just use your judgment basically. All right, so this one is for a youngster, so I've not left a huge amount of space because we don't want these guys to be flapping around in the wind. So all you need to do is tie a knot and come in with your lighter and seal the ends, and that is basically about it. Aren't they gorgeous? I think these are really, really pretty, super for the summertime. I really like these. Can you see these in the sunshine? Oh gosh, Yeah, much better doing it at lunchtime actually rather than more in the evening in here, guys. So I'm sorry about the light here, but you get the idea. All right, so just finish off this part the same as you did this part here. Have lots of fun making these. I really like these. I've made these in gold, but I will be doing some silver ones. And I have a few gifts to make, so I'll be making some of these guys for my kids, girlfriends, and you know, that kind of thing. So have lots of fun, and I will see you very, very soon in my next video where we will be having lots more fun. All right, so I'll see you soon, guys. Thanks ever so much for joining me, as always.